Donald Trump is feeling the pressure of his imploding presidency. We see the markets tanking, his approval rating dropping, and every executive action he takes being struck down in court. And when that is the case for Donald Trump, when he is upset, he goes to his two happy places, both which will be important in this video. The first being Truth Social, and the second, the golf course. And we are going to get into how that relates to just the very strange posting tantrum he went on. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, of course, we're going to talk about Donald Trump's posting tantrum, but before we do, I want a bit of context on what caused Donald Trump to be so upset, and it has to do with Elon Musk and, unfortunately, Social Security.
Look at what the Washington Post was publishing just down the road. Quote, Social Security facing pressure from DOJ weighs big cuts to phone service. Agency considers ending phone program that is used by millions of elderly and disabled Americans. One gobsmacked Social Security Administration employee told the Post today that this radical change, this radical cut to services that they were moving on in the Trump administration, quote, would be the single largest service disruption in agency history ever. The single largest service disruption in Social Security ever. Elon Musk's plan for Social Security was to, quote, end telephone service for claims processing, instead directing elderly and disabled people to the internet and to in-person field offices. Quote, the agency's toll-free number is a mainstay for older customers who do not have online access or who have trouble navigating the internet. About 40% of the claims that get made to Social Security are made over the phone, using this phone line that Elon Musk now wants to kill. 40% of the claims at the agency. And naturally, this move to close the phone line and instead force old people and disabled people to go in person to in-person field offices, naturally, that comes as Donald Trump is firing 7,000 people who work at Social Security and closing tons of the aforementioned field offices. President Biden's Social Security Administrator, former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, ripped the bark off himself in his comments to the Post on this planned cut. Quote, it would certainly appear, he said, that they're trying to break the capacity of the agency to serve its customers. And I suppose if they're trying to dismember the agency, liquidate its assets, sell pieces of it to their billionaire friends to run, they have to discredit the agency in the eyes of its customers, and they do that by breaking its ability to serve. The Post says, quote, the DOJ-driven proposal to shift all claims processing online and to in-person offices has spurred pushback internally, employees said, and from outside experts for the same reasons, that it would be likely to imperil millions of Americans' ability to receive their earned benefits. This is what they're doing. This is what's going on. And so this is what happens today. Congressman John Larson, who I just showed you, screams his freaking head off in Congress about it this morning. Screams at them. And then at noon, the Washington Post publishes this horror movie script about their plan, indeed, to rip the guts out of Social Security. Beyond firing everybody, which they're already doing, right? Beyond closing the field offices, they're now making it so that old and disabled people literally cannot call anyone to find out what's going on. But then you know what happened? They caved. They decided not to do it. Don't let anybody tell you that pushback doesn't work.
So, two incredibly important points to take away from that clip, and some excellent reporting, as always, from Rachel Maddow. The first is that Elon Musk is clearly running the government. It is Elon Musk who is trying to rip out Social Security. It is Elon Musk who is trying to break these agencies first. It's a point that Bernie Sanders has made a couple of times. He said it when he was speaking with Caitlin Collins, and she addressed this idea that maybe there is some fraud, some waste in Social Security, and he stopped her and said, Caitlin, this is what they want you to think. If they can kind of just knock away and chip away at little bits of these agencies and make people distrust them more broadly, then they can just get rid of the programs. And that's the first step for Elon, to break them so that then he can get rid of them. But like I said earlier in this video, Donald Trump's actions are being struck down. Our agency, the effort we're making to push back, is actually working. It's the reason why Trump is so upset. And it's also the reason he made a post about President Biden that is really hypocritical when we keep in mind all of this. And I want to take a look at both and talk about them as well. The first post from Donald Trump is a half-hearted attempt at a meme asserting that there was somebody signing on behalf of Joe Biden that his presidency was not his own doing. And the second is this ridiculous, nonsensical lie. I just won the golf club championship, probably my last, God, I hope, at Trump International Golf Club in Palm Beach County, Florida. Such a great honor. The awards dinner is tonight at the club. I want to thank the wonderful golf staff and all the many fantastic golfers that participated in the event. So those two posts seem just ridiculous and stupid on the face of them. But what I think is important there to point out is the first one is what we always say about Republicans. Every accusation is actually an admission of the truth about them. And what we see there from Donald Trump is asserting President Biden was losing his mind. He wasn't there. He was letting someone do his work for him. When in fact, that is exactly the case of Donald Trump. Elon Musk is the one running the government, while Donald Trump just plays babysitter for his illegitimate children. Elon Musk is going after Medicaid. Elon Musk is going after Social Security. Elon Musk is stealing contracts from the FAA to give to Starlink, while he also negotiates new contracts with China. Like, that's what our government is at this point. It's Elon Musk, while Donald Trump plays golf and lies about his success. But another important element of Donald Trump lying about his golf success, and really just him being on the golf courses, this is a guy who has demanded people go back to work, who has said our government isn't working hard enough, who said it's broken. These employees, they're not working on merit. Just a bunch of BS. While he's sitting on his butt at his golf club tweeting. Like, fundamentally, this is the hypocrisy of the Trump presidency, that it is everyone except those in his administration who are responsible for the government not working, when in fact it is the opposite. That Donald Trump is demanding people go to work, go back to work, work in person, while he does it from his golf club, but not actually. That's what's happening here. It's the hypocrisy of the Trump presidency. And it was called out really perfectly by Jim McGovern, talking largely about the horrible budget Republicans are passing, in a clip I want to talk and look about right here.
The GOP is quietly pushing Trump's broader agenda of destruction. Now, just look at what is happening. DOJ sacked hundreds of workers who keep our nuclear weapons safe, then scrambled to rehire those workers when they realized they screwed up. They fired critical staff from VA hospitals, including disabled veterans. They decimated the NIH office responsible for groundbreaking research on Alzheimer's and dementia. They dismantled Ebola prevention teams along with other critical disease surveillance programs, despite there being a nationwide measles outbreak for the first time in decades. They cut experts working on the bird flu response, you know, the thing that is making eggs so expensive and causing shortages. And now they are working to try to hire them back. I mean, talk about efficiency. We have wildfires raging in South Carolina as Elon guts FEMA, Trump golfs in Florida, and J.D. Vance hits the slopes in Vermont. Can you imagine if Joe Biden went golfing during the California fires? You guys would have a meltdown. But when it's the dear leader, Donald Trump, suddenly it's all fine. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the disgraceful spectacle in the Oval Office last week. You know, I just got home from meeting with my constituents in a town hall, and I called Coffee with Your Congressman in Leominster, Massachusetts. It isn't exactly a Democratic stronghold. Normally, I get about 30 or 40 people show up. This week, we had well over 300 people show up. And the people who showed up were overwhelmingly disgusted, embarrassed, and angry over what transpired at the White House on Friday between President Trump and President Zelensky. I watched the entire video. Not once did Trump or J.D. Vance say a single negative thing about Vladimir Putin. Not a single bad word for the bloodthirsty dictator who invaded Ukraine. Not a single word of support for our allies in Ukraine who are just fighting against Russian aggression. And it seems like people need a little bit of a history lesson. You know, when the Soviet Union fell in the late 90s, Ukraine was left with the world's third largest stockpile of nuclear weapons on the planet. In turn, they signed an agreement with us, the United Kingdom, and Russia, in which they agreed to give up all those weapons if we, the other three signers, agreed to uphold Ukraine's sovereignty and independence. So Ukraine and Russia already had a peace agreement. Russia violated it. Russia invaded Ukraine, and the fastest way for this war to end is for Russia to stop the invasion. We, the United States, we also signed that agreement. We promised to help protect Ukraine's freedom, and Trump is not living up to that agreement. So long as Trump backtracks, no one is going to trust our word, and that's exactly what Russia wants. Just after the meeting, the Kremlin spokesman said, and I quote, "The new U.S. administration is rapidly changing all foreign policy configurations. This largely coincides with our vision," end quote. Do you know what that sounds like? It sounds like our national leaders are in the pockets of the Russian government. It sounds like Trump and Vance are playing right into Putin's hands, undermining our allies and aligning with our adversaries. In fact, just for the sake of argument, let's say we had a president who was doing Putin's bidding, who was secretly trying to undermine the United States, and that president wanted to destroy us from within. You know what they would probably do? Well, they would dismantle our professional civil service. They would withdraw from the world and threaten to leave NATO. They would shut down foreign aid. They would turn their backs on our allies and embrace our adversaries. And they might weaken our ability to fight off Russian cyber operations against U.S. critical infrastructure.
Every promise that Donald Trump has made, he has quickly broken in his presidency. And it's not just that. Every action he takes is antithetical to the ideas presented about what his presidency should be. And I think the idea that people have to return virtually, can't be working virtually, have to return in person, something that specifically targets veterans, it is a point that we really have to look at in this Trump presidency, because it's one of those things that on the face of it seems like, okay, well, maybe this is reasonable. And then you dive deeper and look at the people who it's affecting. It just kind of demonstrates the lack of care and understanding Donald Trump has about any of these programs, because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to care. He can have Elon Musk do the job for him while he sits and golfs, because he doesn't care about you. That's fundamentally what it's all about, and what we're going to call out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.